guys. Welcome to the Light Stand, episode 1. Welcome. We have our awesome friends with us, Willy and Esme. We've known each other since middle school. Yeah.
Parkland Middle?
Parkland Middle. Yeah. We're not going to say years. That is not necessary at all. None of your business. But, they're awesome people, guys. And when we met each other, soccer background and stuff like that. And we wanted to have you guys on the podcast because we feel that you have a lot to, share and teach. And, we admire you guys, not just, from a professional level, because you're obviously very successful, but as people, you guys are awesome people. So we want to hear your story, man. We want to hear about you guys. How, we know, but the people don't know. The people need to know, your story, man. What's your background? How'd you guys meet? How'd you guys fall in love?
If you don't know, now you'll know.
Yeah.
So how we met? I feel like the ladies like to usually take that one on.
We met in high school.
No, I know, but that's fine. You tell the people. Tell them how we met.
In high school, I think I was a freshman. You were a sophomore, right? And we started dating.
Who hit on you? Who?
Willy.
I did actually.
Willy made the move.
Oh, nice.
I made the move. That one's actually a funny story because the bridge that's in Parkland, how they have that little bridge? So I would always hang out there with my brother's friends in that little corner where there's a window in the corner across from where the elevator's at. And I had seen her walk a couple times. I had seen her I think after school mainly, walking to the front of the school, I think to take the bus, right?
Yeah, because I would take the bus to Sherman Park.
So I would see her walk a couple times and I'm intriguing. I'm like, who's this cutie, And then one day I figured out that she was friends with somebody that I think my brother was dating at the time, Josie. I forgot her last name. But he was dating a girl named Josie. And we were friends with Josie. And I asked Josie, can you talk to her for me? She's like, what do you want me to tell her? I'm like, I don't know. Just tell her I'm interested, that I like her. She's really cute. I like her. Back then it wasn't called the vibe. I don't know what it was called back then. I like her vibe. She was dressed really sporty.
Nice.
Hair and ponytail. She had some Adidas on, some jeans. Really good looking. I was like, man, I want to meet her. So I told Josie to go up to her, and then she ended up going up to her and told her, hey, my friend wants to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
They came over, and we were in the little group. I don't think she noticed me originally.
Because she's like, my friend wants to meet you, and she just pointed at the circle of guys.
You're like, which
so
one?
She's coming up to it's the seniors, bro. It's my brother's group and all that stuff. There's good.
I was like, which one?
There's really good looking men in that group, and I was the last one looked at, bro.
Who makes the most money?
I know, right? So she ends up coming up to us, and she looks at the guys with her. She's like, well, my friend wants to talk to you, and then I pop out of nowhere. It's me. And that's how it started.
Awesome.
I think, I don't know. I don't remember what the reaction was. I don't know if it was like oh crap. I don't know if it's, I was hoping it was the other guy or whatever. But that's how we met. Made the first move. Had our friend introduce us.
Nice.
And we started talking by writing letters to each other because back in the day we didn't have cell phones.
Remember
so you would
that?
write a letter.
Yes.
You had a
yes.
cell phone? I didn't have a cell phone.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was a junior when I started working my little part-time job and got my own cell phone. But that's how we were writing to each other, communicating, writing letters to each other.
None of this. Do you have a Snapchat? Do you have an Instagram?
Yeah,
no
just
social
letters,
media, no
folding them up
phone.
into little origami, little
Hearts.
hearts and stuff. So that's how we met. Yeah.
That's how we would communicate.
All right. So who pulled the trigger? Who said, do you want to be mine?
I think at that point it's a little vague, more just because it just evolved. I don't think I ever actually asked, to be honest. If anything, I probably don't remember, but it just evolved. We just started dating, started seeing each other, started going places together after the football games and everything, going out to eat with the boys and everything and all that stuff. So that's all I could do really after school.
Yeah, because we had a lot of common friends as well, so I guess that helped too because we had the same group.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's Parkland. It was small. Everybody knew each other. So I think it just really evolved. I'm pretty sure at some point I asked, right? You remember that? Dang, the love of your life. Oh, yeah.
I don't
Nice.
remember.
But I think it just evolved. We
Nice.
just started dating, and then the rest is history.
Nice.
And did you know that you were the one right away, or did you have doubts, or were you?
No, I don't believe we did. Because, I mean, I was only a freshman. Like, honestly, when they introduced me to him, like, at the time, like, I didn't even, my head was not like, oh, boys, oh, high school, you know?
Right.
Like, mine, I was a nerd. Sports, you know? So, like, okay. But then, you know, once we started talking and I started liking him, and, like, he said things, you know, just started from there.
Very gentlemanlike. Very, very gentlemanlike. I wasn't either. It was more like a first time a girl really catches my eye, I think, at that point, and it happened, and I was like, man, this is actually happening. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
The one that I like actually likes me back.
Yeah.
Right.
Aww.
Yeah.
Were
I
you?
remember, like, if I did ask, I probably asked, like, in the stadium or something. No?
Probably.
We would always go to the stadium. We would always go, not to like do anything, whatever. But I was like, let's go to the stadium. We did literally just.
We're
Solo,
going there already.
solo,
Yes.
solo.
All right.
Later we talk about the sex. Kidding. Totally kidding on that one. You
I
can
mean,
edit that one out.
Say,
I mean,
let's
we had 3 kids.
let's talk about sex. Okay.
But no, yeah, we would go to the stadium, go talk, and then wait again for the school bus to get there or whatever. So super innocent. Honestly, at that point, I really wasn't thinking about anything other than, hey, like, I have a girlfriend. This is cool. Other than that, it was cool. I was a nerd too. I'm not like as much nerd as she was, but got good grades and all that stuff. And it was really my first time having a girlfriend. So it was more for me. It was more like, this is cool. Like, this is what we should be doing, I don't know. So it just felt very normal, to be honest.
That's awesome.
So I'm pretty sure at some point I was like, man, this is the one, because it was the first one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you were a junior?
I was a sophomore.
Sophomore.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was a sophomore.
Freshman.
I think we should just get this one out of the way. I'm only 8 months older than Esme. So a lot of people tend to say, like, oh, well, how much older are you than her? I feel I don't know if I look older or whatever. But I always tell people
There's a story
it's
for
only
that.
8 months. There's a story for that one. But I'm only 8 months older than she is.
Okay.
I'll be 38. I'll be 38 this year.
And I'll be 37 in April.
So,
okay. Awesome.
yeah. Good times.
That's cool.
You're bringing me back, bro.
Hey.
Memories.
Literally.
Memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we also met, in high school. It's funny that you bring up the letter thing as well.
In high school or in middle school?
No.
This one was in high school?
We met in high school.
We met him in middle school, but they started dating.
Okay.
Right. We went to middle school. We all went to middle school together, technically.
Pretty much.
But we didn't know of each other.
No.
And then my freshman year, I ended up going to Eastwood because my parents swore that Parkland was full of cholos and they didn't want
The gangster.
their little angel that they didn't know, really.
So you weren't originally from the Northeast? Or
No, yeah.
They just wanted you to go to Mount?
They just
Right.
wanted me. They didn't want me to go to Parkland.
Okay.
I was gonna supposedly go to Jeff.
Yeah.
Then I was gonna go to Lydia Patterson. Yeah, and I was fighting it tooth and nail.
Imagine, bro, just that one change.
That one change. God is good, man.
Literally.
He has his plan. But I went to Eastwood. Got in several fights there, and I told him, "You see, Eastwood is not where it's at. Take me back to Parkland where I have backup because I'm by myself over there."
The new
How
kid.
about the Northeast
Let's
mentality,
jump
bro?
Hey.
right?
You know?
Cholo, let's jump to Cholo.
So, sophomore year, Parkland, junior year,
Mm-hmm.
second day of class. You know how they had 8A,
Which
B day?
class?
It was algebra.
Yeah.
With,
I remember the guy's name's Mr. Ortega.
Mr.
Okay.
Ortega.
He had
Mr. Ortega.
he's a algebra teacher from
Mhm.
Puerto Rico. Good guy.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat in front of her because I kind of, you know how when you walk in your couple first days at school, you're kind of scoping out the class to
Yeah.
see who's where or whatnot. So I saw her. I was like, she's a cutie, man, but and there's no one sitting in front of her, so I just went.
Let her see the goods.
I just let her have it, right there and then.
Okay.
I blessed her with all my glory.
You let her have it.
I
Okay.
sure did.
What does that mean, babe?
We'll get into that later.
Well,
no.
he's like, look at me, bam, let her have it.
So, 20 minutes into this class, I feel a tap on the right shoulder, and I look over, and it's a note, like a little paper.
Already?
So she was thirsty.
Oh my God. Wow. He's speaking for me.
Yeah, Well,
Yeah.
Do you want to give your account?
Yes, I do. So, yeah.
She's like, first of all, I needed a pencil, bro.
Natalie's like, Mom, if you're listening, it's not true.
I know.
No entiende. Pero no, yeah. He sat in front of me, and he smelled really good. So
Really?
that's all I was like,
Se
okay.
bañaba.
Se
Fellas,
bañó.
fellas, pay attention.
He
Curve.
used yes,
I knew it.
the green bottle.
Come on now.
That's the go-to. But yeah, he smelled really good, and I was just looking at the back of his neck because he has 2 moles in the back of his neck, and they're like right next to each other. And I'm like, well, that's awkward. I mean, it's not awkward, like unique. Sorry, that was my poor choice of words.
If you guys can see the look that she's getting.
I'm going to edit that out. I'm just letting you know right now.
Not awkward. Sorry, unique is the word. But also, I was just staring at the back of his neck, and I was like,
She says it looks like I got bit by a vampire.
Literally, you guys will see
Yeah?
it after. But yeah, he smelled good, so I was like, he's cute. So I passed. Look, let me give you guys a backstory. If I like someone, I'm gonna go for them. I mean, I'm married now, but that was the story with Art. I thought he was attractive, and I'm like, I'm gonna hit him up.
Dang.
Yes. So, ladies, if you want something, get it.
Go for it.
So,
Literally.
yeah.
Okay,
Anyway,
dropping dimes already.
so I passed him the note, and I asked him, "Hey, like, what cologne are you wearing?" And
So you didn't need a pencil.
yeah, with the pencil. I wrote him that question, like, what cologne are you wearing? And then he writes back, and he's like, I can't tell you. And I'm like, why not?
Playing hard to get already.
Yeah. Sí, ¿tú crees?
It's like check off yes, no, or maybe.
Hold on. I need to add a little asterisk there.
Okay.
When she asked me that, or when she passed me that, I had to look back to make sure that what I saw from far
Okay.
was
Oh.
good. I just wanted to make sure my eyes weren't playing tricks on me.
Oh my god.
So I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, she is hot, dude. I gotta play this good. Okay,
You're like,
go.
I'm definitely answering this question.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, he was playing hard to get. So he said trying, right. And then long story short, he gave me his phone, or we exchanged numbers. He didn't call me.
You didn't call her,
He
bro?
didn't call me.
I legit forgot. This was not a game. This was not, play this is one not in the playbook.
Yeah.
This was, I legit forgot.
Bro.
Yeah. So he didn't call me, and then the next day, I'm like walking down the hallway, and I'm like, put my hands up, like, come on, guy, like, what's up? And
Right.
then I was like, and he's like, oh, I'll call you today, or I'll call you whenever. Yeah, but I mean, the rest is history. I mean, we were.
Now,
Were
see,
you doubting it at that point? Was it more like he didn't even call me? Or were you like, oh, maybe he forgot. It's okay.
No, I was like, he didn't
Insulted.
call me. Like, why didn't you call me? You asked for my number. It's like, call me. So yeah, and he called me, and yeah, the rest is history.
And see, let me take you guys back. For those of you that have never had to call a landline,
I was about to ask.
yeah, okay, if you're Generation
Bro, we're
Z,
really showing our age right now.
oh my gosh, no, but this is important.
Like,
this is
like, what's a landline?
yeah, no.
Where did you go?
Is it a cousin of a landmine? What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
A landline. I can't believe I'm actually like
You
teaching
had
this
this
right
right?
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
A landline is a phone. A phone company would hardwire an actual phone line into every single home. Back in the day, and when before cell phones,
Southwestern Bell.
Southwestern. Do you remember that?
Bro, I remember them stamped on the driveways. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
The little bell there.
Was it a bell?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was doing
That's what turned into AT&T,
what
right?
is it
I
called?
believe
The
so.
yellow books, where it has like the
Dang, phone books?
the
phone
phone
books.
books.
Do they even pass those out still?
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen one. In
We have a
years.
story
I
about
don't
that
think
too.
Go
We
for it.
have Yelp now. Google.
So yeah, before cell phones, there was one phone number per house.
Mhm.
If there was 2 people or 10 people in a house, it was one phone number.
Unless you had money, then you can get your own line.
Yeah. That's
we
true.
went to Parkland, so we didn't have money.
Exactly. Northeast, the struggle. But you had 5, 6, 7 people in your house.
Yes.
Oh, dang.
Because I'm the oldest of 5. So it was 5 siblings and then my parents.
So I finally call her, and guess who answers?
The mom.
Her dad.
Oh, see, that was the worst part.
Yeah, the dad answers.
Did you hang up?
No, I literally changed my voice, or tried to change my voice into girl, and I was like,
can we get a reenactment of this?
Is that Natalia?
Oh no,
something like that. This sounds horrible, but
this is Arturita.
This is. I even forgot what I said. I think I said like Maria or something. I don't know. And you could tell that he wasn't really buying it, but he was like, okay,
Yeah.
And he gives Natalie the phone. So and then the rest is history, like you said.
Literally.
No.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
That is crazy. And he was scary, man. He was gangster looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, do you remember the movie Next Friday?
See.
Little Joker?
Okay.
With the beanie down to the bridge of his nose. That was a dad.
Like that? Really?
No,
but taller.
really?
Oh, dang. I was like, he was short or
No. Taller. Without Chico.
Without
taller,
Chico.
but like stocky?
Little stocky.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, your brain goes into survival mode at that time, man.
Really?
You're over here.
I'm like,
thinking you're
Suegro's
about to
hearing this, bro.
die.
Remember?
No, hey, Suegro, if you're listening,
You were intimidating.
you were very intimidating, but
wow.
I love you.
Yeah, and the quick little story, like, my dad would, both of course, during that time, my parents were strict. Like, we grew up in a very strict household and stuff. I wouldn't go to parties or anything. So have a boyfriend, pues no.
Yeah.
Like, none of that. So I was doing this, don't do this, please. Like, always have an open communication with your parents. Don't do what I did. But yeah, I was doing it behind their back because it was at a point where I couldn't talk to them. Like, I couldn't, they're that strict that I had to hide things from them, unfortunately. So yeah, our relationship was hidden. So yeah, that's how we met.
Same, I feel. I feel like it was probably the same for us. Obviously grew up in a Christian household. My parents were, not to say super strict, but I was the middle child. I couldn't do anything, nada, because the first one was the worst one. And so same thing for us. I think, obviously we had the phone, but my parents were always at work. My mom was probably going to school. My dad was working in the nights. So then I would use the phone, give her a call, whatever. But for me, it was more like freely during the day because I could call her because they were always at work or school. So, but I think I probably hid it for a while because I didn't want my parents thinking, well, why do you have a girlfriend? Why this, why that? And at that point, I probably didn't even know she was my girlfriend at that point just because I was so innocent.
Puppy love.
Yeah, literally.
That's awesome.
Definition.
So talk about your dating, your dating life. How did that go? Where did you guys go on a lot of dates? Did you have a big social life, a lot of partying? Was it?
Our dating nights were just like, for instance,
In
we were
school?
both in student council. So, for instance, when they had like the gatherings on Montwood, like the camp drives where all the schools would get together late at night.
Oh.
Like those were our dates, and then we would go have dinner or something afterwards. And
With everybody else, though, like not even by ourselves.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
with everybody else, with that friend that had the car, and everybody. Okay, we're going right with him.
Shout out to Corey. He had the expedition.
Yeah, La Chata.
La Chata.
AKA
But-
La Chata.
No, yeah, it was really, again, I hate to say strict because now I'm being recorded. So I'm like, my parents are strict.
They were.
But we were, yeah, definitely. Because, obviously, growing up in a Christian household, it's not, I just hate saying the word strict. I couldn't do anything. I really couldn't, bro. The way that I got out of the house was doing activities at school, which honestly ended up being a good thing, right? Ended up doing student council, being on the board, joining sports and all that stuff. So that was the only way that I could get out other than, going to church, going to the camps that we would go to and all that stuff. So it was definitely, go to student council because I know she was going to be at student council, but it ended up being I don't know if I could say learning experience, but it ended up being a good experience because I ended up doing more things, meeting more people, talking to more, more kids while we were at school. So a dating scene, we really didn't have one. It was really just at school because
probably,
I couldn't.
Excuse me, probably until you graduated, no? And then I was a senior and you already graduated, and that's when we started. When you started driving, having a job, and then we would go on our own to go out to eat.
Yeah, that's when I was working at EchoStar.
EchoStar,
My first job. Yeah, because I started getting my own money. I thought I was balling at that point. I was like, let's go on a date,
My sugar daddy.
Oh dang! You felt like no, yeah, that was the experience. It was we just dated in school, but it was also the same thing with my friends. My friends were just at school. Couldn't spend the night anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. Again, Christian household. They were trying to protect me from a lot, but I wasn't out there knowing a lot. I didn't know a lot about the outside world because I was so, just put it into the Christian world. At that point, I don't want to say it as a prison sentence. I liked it. I liked being in the Christian world. But I almost didn't know anything outside of it just because they were so overprotective of me. There you go. That's the word. Yeah. Not really. For me, it wasn't strict. It was just being very overprotective. Making sure that, we didn't go out and experience something bad or go, be in a gang or something like that. So that was,
but it was only the reason
you. For it. It was only with me. Yeah, it was only with me. Really couldn't go anywhere or anything like that. So again, that's why I joined a lot of activities. And then my dad would be like, pues, you need to be home by 9:30. I'm like, pues, el juego, it ends at 10. It ends at 10. He's like, pues, I want you here at 9:30. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll get out by halftime. Yeah.
Wow.
Not that strict. But yeah, he would tell me to come home right afterwards. And if I did, I would call him and be like, hey, we're going to go to the pizzeria. That's where the Martin Tire is at. It was like right in front of it.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot what it was called. But there was a pizzeria there. We would go there sometimes after the games. Again, shout out to Corey Sainz for the bringing La Chata, the expedition. We would all pack in, go, and then I'd have to have him take me right home. I was the first one to go home. Oh, wow. I had to be home, bro. So, I was like, hey, pues, now you can't do this because you came home at the time we didn't tell you to come.
You came at 10:01.
Literally, my dad's like, pues ya son las 10:01, ¿qué pasó? And I'm like, órale. So, that set me up more for being very respectful and, stuff like that. I don't think I was a very bad kid. But yeah, that was our dating scene in school.
In school.
Literally. Yeah.
All right. And then at what point did you feel she's the one, he's the one? How far into your dating did you kind of feel that way? Dang. And then what was it that made you feel that way? Or what was it that, gave you that assurance of like, yeah, this is it?
Man, honestly, for that one, I'm going to say because of the way I was brought up, I didn't have time to think about that. So that when I knew was when I was out of high school already. So yeah, like she was a freshman, I was a sophomore. I had graduated. I went to Arizona. We had lived there, went to go live with my brother in Arizona and everything. And then we kept in touch. I think I had your yearbook, right? Mm-hmm. I had your yearbook. And I had called her and I was like, I still have your yearbook. When do we want me to bring it back? I'm living in Arizona. I don't know what's going on. I'm making my own plans. And then we came back to each other. Our relationship in high school was very off and on. Me, not, I don't know if I want to say struggling, if it's the right word. Let's say struggling with being Christian. Should I have a girlfriend? Should I be even thinking about that at this moment? Going to church and thinking should I just completely devote myself? Or should I have fun? Am I allowed to have fun? I didn't know if I could or not. I think Christianity back then was a little bit different. It was definitely, I guess maybe if you want to put the word a little bit more stricter. So I didn't know.
Christianity in general, but the church you attended.
Probably.
The pastor, the way he was, Yeah, because not all churches are the same.
That's very true. But I didn't. Yeah, it was more like I didn't realize that until we came back to each other. This was already 2004. I came back from Arizona, and we met up, hit it off again like if nothing had ever happened, and just kept going. Literally, when we came back to each other was when I was just like, I really do like her. I really love her. It's been like that, you know, when we were in high school and all that stuff. So whenever I came back and we got back with each other, at that point I was just like, this is the one. I wouldn't have came back. You know, what am I coming back for? Am I coming back just to come back, or am I coming back, you know, because this is, you know, about to happen? But I think at the age that we were at, that's when you're like, oh, you know, I was 18. So it's kind of hard to say, is this the one? I'm only 18. I don't know. I have no clue. So it's kind of hard to answer that, I think. Yeah. You guys? Let me throw it back on you.
Hold on.
All right.
You, Esme, like, what would you say? That?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
how
would
did you
definitely say that when that point came that we met up again when he came back in Phoenix. Like, we still kept in touch, but once he came back and we met up, and it's like time had stand still, and we started off again like nothing, and you know, like everything happens for a reason. I was like, okay, you know, I still felt like butterflies in my stomach when I saw him come, you know, the first time when he came back from Phoenix and stuff. I'm like, okay, I still like him.
She's like, he has a car now.
Aw. True. That's awesome. Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
Very cool. I think for us, yeah, it's a very similar story. How funny.
Is it?
Yeah, because we were also off and on. I think, you know, when you date that young, right? Any little thing, you're like, oh, it's over. We broke up a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's another topic for another episode, because, yeah.
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 She was. You
yeah,
said
I was very insecure, very jealous. Just the way that I grew up, that had a lot of to do with it, because you know, it's traumas that I didn't know how to deal with at the time. And yeah, I mean, I was always, you know, thinking that he was doing stuff when he wasn't.
Yeah.
Assuming, and we'll see, he would break up with me.
Well, the thing was, and I always knew that she was good. I always knew that she had a heart of gold. But it's those things that came with the package, you know, that I was like, why am I dealing with this? I don't need this in my life right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Especially
way
that
too young
Right.
to be dealing with, you know, all this stuff. And yeah, it's
Too much.
we'll dive into it in a later episode, because there's a whole lot to
Heck yeah.
what do you call it?
In between.
There's a lot to dissolve on that one.
Desmenuzar, how do you say it?
Dissect, like
Yeah, like to dive into it, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
At a deeper level.
right.
So, you know, no, we know that now. But at the time, you just think this girl's crazy. You know,
Yeah.
No way. I don't need this.
Toxica.
Yeah, yeah,
Now what you guys call toxica, it's that was me back then.
yeah. So,
And we tell our boys, like, sorry to interrupt, like,
No.
that's what we tell our boys. If you guys know you guys are dating a toxica, please get rid of her.
Mhm.
Get out of it.
Which is unfortunate, you know, because to their more than likely the way they are is not their fault. It has a lot to do with the way they grew up, which
Yeah.
is something we know now.
Right.
But at that age, you're ignorant of that fact. You know, you
Yeah,
just
for
think
sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
So anyhow, she was super. I mean, not was, but she's always been really beautiful, and very attractive. And at that moment, at that time, there was a lot of guys after her. In the, you know, she played soccer. I, you know, played soccer. So guys in the soccer team would be like, "Oh man, you know, your girlfriend's fine," and this and that.
Dang.
Yeah, like that. And I'm over here feeling proud of myself. Like, yeah, I got a trophy. You know,
Yeah.
she's amazing. I scored big, right? But again, not everyone's trustworthy. So they started, you know, saying lies about me and stuff like that. Like, there was one very specific moment where I remember that this guy, which I won't say the name, told you that I was at a party with a girl. And you believed them right away.
Yeah.
And so let me give you the scenario. First period, man, of the day, right? I think it was English class or whatever. Remember Mr. Oaks?
Of course.
Great English teacher. Mr. Oaks, if you're out there, man, you impacted my life big time.
Definitely.
But anyway, getting out of this class, I look to my right because that's where she came from. She is in tears. And I'm thinking, what happened this time?
I legit thought you were gonna say she like just punched me out of nowhere. I'm like, dang. Yeah,
She
metal.
cocked it back and was about to slap me, and I busted a Matrix Neo, dodging this high speed assault that was coming to my face.
Wow.
No, just kidding. But she was about to slap me, and I'm always, I did bust a Matrix Neo and dodged it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is going on? What's your problem? And she says, I knew it. They told me what you were doing. They told me what you're doing. I'm like, what was I doing? They saw you at a party with another girl. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Was this party good? Did I have fun at this party? Because I don't recall.
So you didn't go to a party?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't even go?
I didn't go to no party. Nothing. Yeah. This was a complete fib.
Dang.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. Who said this? And so said this. Really? Okay. Let's go find this guy. So we didn't even go to class straight. I was on a mission to find this guy. Luckily, he was pretty much down the hallway.
Yeah.
And he was about to walk into his class. And I pulled. Do you remember this? I pull. He's walking in.
Friend or not friend?
No, not a friend.
Okay.
Not a friend. Acquaintance.
Yeah.
Not a friend. I pull his backpack so hard that he's stumbling back in, like, across the hallway.
Yeah.
And I push him against the wall and I tell him, what did you tell Natalie? What did you tell Natalie? You saw me where? At a party with who?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate? What was this about? Clearly, I'm speaking in a very, calm tone right now because we're recording, but I was lit.
Yeah.
I was a match on fire. Excuse me. Who was I with? Where was his party? And this guy was stuttering Stanley. He was just no, man, that's not what I meant. Because she was right there.
Yeah.
And then she confronts him too. Like, you told me that, he was with a girl. And he couldn't find words because he was clearly, it was clearly a lie.
Yeah.
So I said, you keep my name out of your mouth and you leave her alone. And I pushed him back into his classroom.
You're like, go to class.
Right. Go to class, and kicked him in the rear. No, I didn't. Mentally, I did. So that happened. And then she looks at me and she's like, I am so sorry. And I say, no, you didn't even ask me. You just flat out accused me.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's over. I'm not going to put up with this. Dang. This is what I have to look forward to.
Like,
every single time someone tells you something, you're not even going to check with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that, a version of that happened, I don't know, several times. And it was just breakup after breakup.
See, it was.
So people were after you guys.
Cycle.
I guess so.
Honestly,
I guess they were after her.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. But it is what it is, right? So the rest is history. I won in the end. We got married. We have awesome kiddos. But in a nutshell, so to fast forward from all this stuff to when did we know that she was the one? I feel like I always knew she was the one.
Yeah.
Even through all this stuff, through this journey, because we dated for 7 years before getting married.
Okay.
So I don't know, man, deep inside, and we would break up and I'd be all mad at her and stuff like this, but months would go by and then I'd start missing her dearly. I'm like, man, there's no other girl like her, really, like she's not out there,
She was like, you were like, she's literally crazy for me.
Yeah. She's not out there on a man carousel. We know plenty of, ladies that did that back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. There was something, and I feel like it was God saying she's the one, just have patience or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, babe. I don't know. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think he was one of my serious boyfriends, and like he always treated me with respect, and I mean, just the way that he would make me feel like secure. And I confided in him like stuff that I had not told
anybody else.
And I was like, I've never done this before, so it's like I felt that easiness with him. You see, it's just, I mean, I think with my heart all the time, and I just knew. I knew that he was the one, and thankfully he's been very patient with me, and I was like, yeah, he's a keeper.
And you guys kept coming back to each other too?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For the right reasons, I would say.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it goes, this is a condensed version. We'll dive in deeper again at another episode. But, the final split up was after my first son was born. He was born, and maybe right before he turned a year old, we broke up. And that was the final breakup. She was already, and when we broke up, she was already, I think, 2 or 3 months pregnant with our second son. But I was like, no, that's it. I can't do this anymore. I really am fed up. That's it. Yeah. I went to go put myself on child support so that she couldn't leave the state because she was threatening, which I'm sure was a fib too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going to leave and you're not going to be able to see your son. And I'm like, no, I love my kid. Like, he changed my life, and then you're going to have a second son from me. So, we got to figure this out. So I signed myself up. But at that moment, God puts a man in my life named Luis Talavera. Shout out, my boy Luis. I meet him.
Echo Star, bro.
At Echo
Full
Star.
circle. Dude. He was my trainer.
Oh.
He was my trainer for...
Were you an installer?
No. So he went from training the primary Spanish team.
Okay.
Which I was on. And my Spanish wasn't that great. But he was training that team first. So it was customer service. And then I remember when I went on the floor, maybe a couple months later, I had seen him and he was like, oh, I'm training the installers now, I think.
Yeah.
But that's how I met him. I met him because of my first job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So awesome. I meet him. We're split. He invites me to our church on multiple times. And for whatever XYZ reason, I don't go. Finally, on an Easter Sunday, he invites me again. And I go. And I gave my life to Jesus that day. Yeah. It was an amazing play. It was they did a play, actors and everything. It was some war where, condensing it to the final scene, two brothers of war, they're in the battlefield and then one gets shot fatally and he's gasping his last breaths and his friend is holding him in his arms saying, don't die on me, like, I love you, bro, this and that. And he's like, I'm gonna die. Like, I feel it. And he asked him, like, do you know Jesus? And he's like, no. So he's like, man, accept Jesus right now. He prays for the guy. He accepts Jesus and he passes away. And I don't know why, but I was crying so hard.
Oh, you know why, bro.
I was crying so hard, man. I was just like, wow. And then at the end, the pastor comes up. He's like, hey, if you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, this is the time. And I'm like, man, I'm raising my hand. I don't know why, I just felt like a hand pulled me out of my chair and to the front. And I'm over here like bawling,
Question.
Yeah.
Did you guys grow up in a Christian household or this was like your first encounter?
First encounter.
Wow. Okay.
My mom believes in God, but not in a Christian aspect. It was actually more Catholic.
Okay.
But not even traditional Catholic. It was just de costumbre. Like, on maybe Easter church. And that's really it.
The main services and stuff like that.
Yeah. I, once or twice a year maybe. Okay. Going. I did my first communion and then the confirmation and stuff like that, but more out of tradition, not because it was like an actual, established faith lifestyle.
I feel you.
Yeah. My dad, I feel that I would say he's agnostic. I wouldn't say full out atheist.
Okay.
Because, I have heard him say, gracias a Dios, thank God, here and there.
Yeah.
But I don't, did he ever have a chat with me about who God is? No, never.
Okay.
I grew up Catholic. I would say I grew up with my dad's family a lot, like interacting with them a lot, cookouts and stuff. So that part of the family is very religious, you can say. So I grew up going to church every Sunday. However, I would see how we would leave church and my parents would end up fighting, or there was always an argument. And I'm like, wow, like, is this how it's going to be all the time? But I felt like at home at church. Like I felt like this is what brings our family together.
Yeah.
I've always believed. But yeah, I just didn't like the Catholic. It was very religious, you can say. But yeah, I grew up and I've always believed like there was never a doubt of his existence. So, yeah.
Well, I know you said you grew up in a Christian household.
Literally, bro.
What about you, Esme?
I grew up in you can say a Catholic. Like you said, we would go to church in no holidays or the quinceañeras and weddings, and I got baptized when I was a baby, and did my first communion, and like you said, I did it not because I didn't know what I was doing. It was just like the ritual, your padrinos, and so on. I mean, I liked it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I still, like, to this day, I tell them, like, me, ever since I was little, I believed in God because my parents showed me who God was and stuff. And I didn't have a clear picture of it, but I knew he existed. I believed in him. And even if we didn't go to church, like me, even being as a little girl, like, I mean, I was a nerd. So, like, even for a test in the night, I remember myself being in my bed and like, oh my God, it was a little test, right? But to me back in the day, it was like, what if I fail? I'm going to fail the whole grade, And I would say a little prayer to God in my head, like, oh God, hopefully. And then if I passed the test, I was like, it was you. Like, even as a little girl, I believed in God, And
That's awesome.
Wow. As a little kid, I remember watching a movie, and I cannot translate it, but it's called Marcelino Pan Divino or something like Pan y Vino.
A show or?
No, it was a movie.
A movie?
Marcelino Pan y Vino, something like that. And in the movie, it's even a black and white movie.
Wow.
We're not that old.
No,
it's just the movie
the movie was old. Yeah, it's like watching the first Dracula or something, right?
Yeah.
It's old school. But in this movie, this little kid sees the statue of Jesus hanging on the cross, but it's a statue, and he touches him, and he, I guess, talks to him or prays for him or something, and I don't know how, but he is able to take Jesus off of the cross, and that's like the miracle in the movie.
Okay,
that he's able to remove Jesus from the cross and lay him down on the floor. So I remember watching this as a kid. I don't know, I was probably 8 years old ish, and then my mom had put on my wall a cross maybe about 12 inches long or so, kind of the same. It was a metal cross with a metal Jesus stamped on the cross, right? I don't know how, but I grabbed this. I took it off of the wall, and I pray that I can, take Jesus off of the cross because he's in pain. He has the nails on his hands and his feet. I get him off the cross, dude.
Okay.
That's crazy to me.
Like physically?
Physically. A metal, little thing. Yeah, I thought that was wild. So
That is wild.
I was like, whoa, God's real,
Okay.
He's not, like an invention or whatnot. So I don't know. Just something that happened to me at 8 that I have very vividly.
That's cool.
It triggered when you said.
Yeah.
So
now I want to look up the movie.
Yeah, something along this line. It's not even an entertaining movie that I can remember, to be honest. But I want to get back to, you guys dating. So you probably dated 4 years.
On and off. Yeah.
On and off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 years because I was a sophomore already.
Oh yeah,
sophomore
that's right.
Okay, that's right. And then you go to Arizona. You come back. You guys decide. She's it. He's it. Right.
Start dating.
How does that? When did you guys get married?
So we got married on July 16, 2005.
So I think it was 2 years after you came back from Phoenix?
No, because we got pregnant right away. Almost right away. She graduated and then a couple
That's right, because you came back 2003. It was not 2004 yet. Because we were still in the fall semester of senior year. I was not. Yeah, so it was 2003 and then we got married in 2005.
Oh, wow.
July 16, 2005.
Okay. And when you got married, you were already pregnant?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. How far along?
I was already 7 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
7 months in. Yeah.
And then, so when your first baby was born, how old were you?
19? I had just turned 20.
No, 19. Because I was 19
right.
and then I had turned 20 5 days before she was born. She was born 5 days after my birthday.
That's right.
So I turned 20, or I was already 20 when she was born. I had just turned 20.
So you were 20, Willy, and then
Yeah.
you were
I was
19, Esme.
Yes.
Talk to us about that experience, being such young parents.
Man.
That must have been an adventure.
Oh, heck yeah. Bring back so many memories.
It was scary. You know, just not the fact that I was having or the delivery of the baby, just we're bringing this human being to the world, being so young.
Right.
I was doing like, I think I had
Where,
classes at UTEP. Yeah, I was going to UTEP. I was not working at the time, just going to school. And you were working at Echo Star still?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, at Echo Star. Mm-hmm.
It was scary. Again, coming from a Christian household, telling my parents when I've never even told them anything bad because I didn't really even do anything bad, to be honest. I was really a good kid, really good kid, very, very respectful. So to tell your parents at the age of 19, I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Right.
Going into the house. I think my dad was remodeling the house, which obviously I was helping with too. He was doing the floors. And I remember really dumb details sometimes about a lot of little random stories, but we had the dinner table in the middle of what was a living room, but because he was doing the floors, it was all the cement. It was the foundation and stuff. And I don't remember how I decided to tell them, but I told her, you can't come. I was like, you can't be there.
I didn't want to be there. Trust me.
My mom's very daunting.
On your own. You tell your parents.
My mom, when you see my mom, she's very daunting personality. She looks like she's mad and so not anymore obviously, but she looks like she was mad and my dad very, very Mexican macho, very,
that
like
was not my first impression of your dad when I met him and saw
very
him.
nice, but the way that he looks. My mom will give you the eye. She'll tell you, like, it's just, I don't know. It was just, I told her I didn't want her to be there. I was like, you know what, I'll do this on my own. It was hard enough just even telling them, this is what's going on or whatever. We were getting ready to have some dinner, I think. My brothers were at the table. It was my mom and my dad, obviously. And then, like, they knew. Parents know, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We know, kids. We know. As soon as I said, I have to tell you guys something, they knew.
Uh-oh.
My mom started bawling.
Oy.
My dad was like, ¿Qué vas a hacer? Typical. I don't know if that's typical, right? But that's more like a very, ¿Qué vas a hacer?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So young, you're not going to live here anymore. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Can I take this back? It was a very scary situation. So it was scary just to tell them. Finding out, we went to, I don't even know if it's still there. What was it called?
It's a Honda Pass, the teen something.
Some teen center, pregnancy center.
Yeah.
Off Honda Pass. I remember that very vividly too. She started crying when they told her. I was sitting, you know how they have those little windows in the offices? They have those little sliding windows.
Yeah.
So I was sitting right next to that. And when the office they bring them into, she's sitting down in a chair right next to that door where I guess when they tell you or something. And I'm sitting there and I'm like praying, bro. And I'm like, and actually I'm not even praying like, por favor, no. Hopefully not. I'm actually just like, let it be your will. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. This will take me on the journey of life. However it's going to happen. And I put everything in your hands. Literally, that was the prayer. That was the prayer that I had. And then I remember the lady walking in, turns around and tells Esme, and then Esme puts her face in her hands and starts crying. And me, I'm like, oh man, I'm about to be a father. That for me was like very life-changing. Very life-changing.
Definitely.
So I want to say scary was the experience. Very, very scary. Being young parents, once we started getting into it, once obviously our parents supported us, her parents supported us, obviously. I don't know if I want to say that, if that's even the right word. It was easy. Like, obviously we had struggles, but we did everything together. It was, I mean, young, I don't know what you can say, like young couple, you know, we don't know what we're doing.
It wasn't like a struggle to the point where we were like, oh my God, the world's over. It's going to end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, believe like we stuck together. We came to a lot of agreements and like we had each other's backs and we had our parents helping us, you know, supporting us. Yeah.
That's when I knew she was the one. No, I'm kidding.
After the fact.
With the baby already.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah,
I was a little scared to tell. Not my mom so much because honestly, ever since I was young, I've always had an open relationship with my mom, and I would tell her everything. And my mom knows everything, and my dad was the one that I was like, "Ooh," because I'm daddy's little girl, and I'm his only girl. So I was like, I don't know how. So we told my mom first. I remember that. We told her first, and she had to talk with us, you know, so on. And then I was like, man.
With you and Willy together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Willy was the one we told my mom. And we're like, okay, we have to tell my dad, but give it time. We honestly waited, I think, like 2 weeks after we told my mom. Then we had to tell my dad. Because there was no way of hiding it. I was getting the morning sickness. I was feeling...
Too. I got it too. No, for real. I did.
Yeah.
Remember when that was before? Super quick story. Showering at home. Didn't know she was pregnant. Normal shower, right? Taking a shower, you know, and I was just threw up, bro. I don't know where.
Projectile.
Yeah, literally. And I'm like looking down and I'm like, where did that come from? Why did I just throw up? And then in my head, I'm all, she's pregnant. I thought about it
just like that.
Literally. And I was just like, oh, obviously we were, you know, doing things we weren't supposed to be doing. I told her. And then I think that's what brought on, let's go get tested.
No.
What's up?
And then we lived off of Sun Valley and by Andrews High School.
Okay.
Like Hollyhock. And there was a 7-Eleven right there on Macomb. So we used to walk or drive whenever we felt like we're driving or walking. And we would get like the hot Cheetos with cheese and stuff. And remember we were outside my parents' house. And I was eating the hot Cheetos with cheese. And all of a sudden I was like, I can't eat this anymore. I feel like throwing up. My stomach's like, I feel weird. And I started throwing up the hot Cheetos in the middle of the street.
I'm like, what hot
Cheetos?
Yeah,
that's how I knew. I was like, something's not right. And that's when we went to go get checked. And
wow.
Sure enough.
We know. I mean, obviously, because we feel it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Pero, yeah. That's scary. I mean, being, like you said, young parents, and it's like, you're like, what am I going to do? And it's like, nerve-wracking.
Yeah, we didn't have our own house yet. We didn't have our careers yet. It's like we started, how do you say it? Opposite?
Started from the bottom.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And we can relate because we started like that too. Yeah. And it's like, don't do it like that. But I mean, learn from us. And it's like,
yeah.
But look at
Definitely.
us now. You know, we didn't give up and we fought through it. And look, you guys are still married. We're still married, happily married, like Art said. So it's awesome.
To that,
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered the question. I always go off topic.
No, that's
awesome.
great. That's great. I want to know, you know, that process. You know, I don't know how deep you guys want to dive into that, but becoming young parents and the type of, you know, struggle that you went through. Was it financial? Was it living together? Was it, you know, moving in together for the first time? Talk about that. You know, what's that process like?
All of the above, bro.
Yeah.
Literally. I think, and I would hope, not hope, but I would think everybody goes through that, literally. First apartment was the one off Zion. I was working, I don't even know if I was working. Oh, no, I wasn't. So I was working 2 jobs. Once we found out she was pregnant, I was like, I gotta do something, obviously. I was working at Blockbuster. Blockbuster still existed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. And I was doing demolition in the night. I would get picked up at like 10 o'clock at night from my parents' house. This lovely man named Dennis would pick me up in a big old diesel F-250. So all the Wells Fargos that you see right now, obviously I don't know if they're remodeled again, but all the Wells Fargos in El Paso, we would go and do demolition. My friend John, I call him John Lowe, Jonathan Paredes. They would come and pick me up, and then we would do demolition at night, all the way up from like 10 all the way up to like 5, 6 in the morning. I would come home full of insulation, and insulation being itchy and rubbing everywhere. The showers were horrible, man. But I had those 2 jobs. I did that. I didn't do that for very long. It was obviously, demolition is super hard, especially at that age. I think it was paying us, I don't know if I can say that. It was paying me under the table, $100 a night. I don't know if that was good or not back then. But again, Blockbuster, and I was getting paid $100 a night to do demolition, to support, try to save up as much money as we could. So that way when we, had our baby, I could provide. I can only think of like, I need to provide. I need to, I think I had dropped out of school. I was going to EPC at that moment. My world it didn't stop. It was like, we need to stop to do this. Sidetrack. We went the long way around. So, the money thing, I think you were still going to school, right?
Yeah, I was still at UTEP.
I bounced around at
and
jobs.
once I was like about to like, have the baby, it was getting hard for me because UTEP, you have to park somewhere. Not necessarily do you get parking right in front of the building you have your class in. You have to walk towards it, and it was during the summer. I was
Oh man,
it was,
That's when Dr. Palomino
tough.
would take you, babe. Is that when Dr. Palomino would take you?
Not Palomino, Dr.
Or-
Pasmino. No,
Pasmino,
that was not when.
Oh.
I'm like way off on timelines over here.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was getting hard. And then like I would get sleepy, tired, and still have to get home and do homework, stay up late and study.
Yeah.
Sometimes I couldn't do it. Like I had to drop a class and, finish with the other 2. And yeah, it got tough. It was tough.
I would pick her up. Was this when I was working at, I don't know what it was called at that point, Brightline or Red Cats?
No, that was after I had Kylie.
Was it? I remember I would pick you up and then go to the Atencha's house.
Yeah,
To
that
go
was
eat.
after Kylie. That was after I had Kylie already.
Afterwards. Sorry, I'm missing on my time.
No,
So,
good.
well, no, I mean, it was obviously a different experience. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what's going to come about.
Now, obviously, we can say it was easy. But at the time that you're going through the struggle and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
it's like, oh my gosh, what's tomorrow going to bring? Where are we going to get money from? Where, where are we going to provide from? But, we did it.
Yeah.
Now we can
That's
say
awesome.
it was easy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
As you're going
Oh,
through
so
it, you're
as you're
thinking,
going, yeah.
this is impossible. What
and
am I going to
being
do?
young with the
Yeah.
kid.
Right.
Yeah, you get the weird looks.
Yes.
Again, we would go to church. We go to my parents' church. And then you get the weird looks because she's pregnant. And they're like, oh, man. Was that you were a Christian? You've been Christian all your life. It's kind of weird, right?
Not only will you get the looks, they would ask us constantly.
Mm.
So when are you guys going to get married? When are you guys going to get married?
Mm.
Are you guys planning to move in together? Like, and see, now that we're talking about this,
Yeah.
that's when I started going to that church. I had previously been to Christian church. Like I don't know if you guys remember Carla.
Yes.
Her parents, her family was Christian, so she would invite me to church, and I would go with her here and there. I was like, okay, I like this, but I didn't really get into it. I was still young, But then when I started going with him, constantly, like it was a every Sunday thing or every Tuesday thing, like to me, coming from where I was coming from, and then I get that thrown in my face constantly, like it was like
Culture shock.
like yeah, I'm like, do I really want to continue coming to this church?
Right.
Like,
You feel judged.
yeah, definitely. I was being judged.
Right.
Definitely. Not only the looks, how he said, but the constant
comments.
like, when are you gonna get married? Oh, you haven't gotten married? When are you moving together? Like that was a constant thing. I'm like, do I want to continue coming here? Like honestly,
Man.
I think that was one of my battles into becoming Christian, or God was always there. God was my number one in my life, regardless of my religion or if I went to church or not.
Right.
He's always been my number one, my priority. But going into the transition from being Catholic, quote unquote, to going to a Christian church, like that was hard for me because I was like, whoa, like
Yeah.
you're throwing this thing at me, like
Right.
I'm the new one here. Like, you know,
Right.
I'm supposed to be like feel welcome and stuff,
Right.
and not
Right.
judged. And honestly, that was the battle for me. Honestly,
Man, so much to dive into there, man. First of all, I want to address the fact that you, Willie, had the responsibility. You had that sense of responsibility to provide for your soon-to-be daughter, right? But not just that, but your future wife.
Mm-hmm.
Where how many guys at that age find out that they're going to be fathers, bail.
Yeah, that wasn't even a thought. I can say that honestly, it wasn't even like a just let her do her thing, or you know, it wasn't. It really wasn't.
Right.
And I want to say thank to my parents for that, more because obviously my dad's always been there and everything. So I think for me, having my dad there and knowing that he was always going to be there, then I was like, okay, well now it's my turn, being this 19-year-old kid. I just you get just like you said, you get the feeling, you need to be there. This is going to be your life. This is what's going to be forever. This is how it's going to go. Make the best out of it. So at that point, it was, my parents were really, the first reaction from my parents was more of a get out of our house. Really, it was the way that I was received with my mother-in-law was different with my parents. My mother-in-law was very, we'll get through this. Very, 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 very understanding. And I love that. That reception to me was amazing. I was just like, oh, okay. The dad was a little bit different, but still the same love. With my parents, it was very harsh. It was harsh. My parents, if you're listening to this, obviously we went through it at the same time, but to hear I want to say, I'm not going to say best kid. I was a good kid, a really good kid, never got in trouble. But I want to say maybe when you hear such rattling news coming from a good kid, you're like, what the heck? Yeah. And their reaction was very, you're not going to live here anymore. What are you going to do with your life? You messed up your life. It was harsh, I think, for my parents to hear that. Coming from me, whatever, it was obviously disappointment. And it was like, you're not going to live here. And I'm like, crap, where am I going to live? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? So I think I don't know if that's the reason why, but the instant I need to do something. I need to work. I need to get my own vehicle. I need to get, a job. I need to get our own place. You're getting pushed into adulthood, literally. Yeah. We pushed ourselves into adulthood. So that in itself was very hard, I think, for us. Just not knowing what to do. Obviously, we didn't have anything figured out. Nothing. So it was very hard for us. Definitely. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if that answered the question I was going.
No, that's awesome. I mean, to accept the fact that you're about to be a father at 19 years old, it takes a certain level of maturity, a certain level of ownership, of a sense of responsibility that not a lot of guys do. Let's just call it what it is. I can think of, a couple guys from, back in high school or whatnot that were in the same situation and had a different thought process. Yeah. So, but that's another topic.
Definitely.
So, talk to us about baby number 2, baby number 3, how, well, before we get there, what would you say are some key learning moments moving in together for the first time, learning to live with each other, learning each other's little knacks, you didn't put the top back on the toothpaste and this is crazy for me, or you leave the socks on the floor. I don't know, what was your guys' experience as, not just new parents, but moving in together, newly married and all that?
Man, I don't think we've ever had where little things bothered us.
Like little things, no.
No, it was, she's clean, I'm clean. Yeah, very clean. We're both clean. We pick up, we don't leave the cap off the toothpaste or anything like that. We had our first apartment, and that was in the Northeast. We went to go live there. I think we got credit to get. I think the only thing we had was one couch and
the bed.
The bed, right? Yeah. So we didn't even get to experience the whole. We laid on the floor. No, like I think at that point, my suegra was like, I have these rails, the red rails. You can use these, and then we got the mattress. So we got the mattress, and we're like, man, we're living it up. It's all nice up in here.
Got our first living room set.
Was that the red couches? No,
Mm-hmm.
was it? We got some red couches.
Nice.
They were very bright. But the living together was a good situation. Like we fit very, very well, to be honest. Honestly, I think that's why we
and by
together
the time we
for
got
so
the
long.
apartment, we already had Kylie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did we?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How old was she?
Months. She was
Couple
months.
months.
Okay.
I remember it was a couple of months. The living.
Well, we're skipping a part because when we had Kylie, Willie applied a job in Phoenix, and then 3 weeks after Kylie was born, he got the job. So we moved to Phoenix to live with his brother because his brother lived in Phoenix in the apartment.
We went back to Phoenix.
Wow.
I moved to. So that part was kind of hard for me because I was young. It was my first baby, and me and my family, our family is really family oriented and close.
Yeah.
Kylie was the first granddaughter, not grandkid, but granddaughter.
Okay.
The girl, and my dad's only baby girl, and it was hard to say bye and just get our stuff and move.
Wow.
And we did that for 6 months, and then but Willie was like, we might as well go to El Paso because I would come down like twice a month.
No.
And stay for like the weekend, a week. I couldn't be without my mom. Yeah.
I was making money, bro.
I couldn't be without my parents. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
and they
very
couldn't be
close.
without Kylie. They couldn't.
Yeah, literally.
It was hard.
Her family is very, 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 very close.
Let me clarify something. Not to the point where they get involved in our marriage. Not like that.
No.
Not that close.
Right.
Hold
Not
up.
that close.
Let's talk
Okay.
about
That's a good
Hold
point.
up. Let's talk about
And I
that.
honestly think, and just a little bit note on there, it's just I think because we have to let them know, like, this is our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We pay our bills. They're our kids. And I think because of course there was times where the grandma would be like, no lo hagan así, or no, eso está mal, but I think it was because we're both mutual agreement to that, like, no, these are our kids. We pay our own bills. Nobody's going to tell us how we're going to do this.
You set the boundaries.
Yeah, we set boundaries from the beginning. So
Love
I think our parents knew, like, they, not that necessarily we knew what we were doing, but they knew, like, okay, we can't butt in. So I think we made that very clear. Both of us, we came to that agreement. So our family did not get involved. We're close, but not to the point where they're involved in our business.
Good.
What did that conversation sound like? Because I feel like there's a lot of couples that struggle with that. They're afraid of setting a boundary with mom and dad. They're afraid of setting a boundary with grandma of like, hey, mind your own business.
Right. Honestly, for me, it was more, I'm afraid of that getting them involved or coming in between or trying to tell us what to do. It was going to get our marriage harder. Like, it was, my scare was between us, like their opinions, or they're trying to tell us what to do and letting them get involved. It was gonna affect our marriage. That was my scare. My scare was not to tell my mom, okay, like I would listen to her. She would tell me 1 to 20, like, okay, no, or his mom, and like, no,
good, that's awesome.
She didn't want to lose me, bro.
And that speaks a lot about you, because I mean, you cared about your relationship. Like, you didn't want any outside influences to affect your relationship. So that's awesome. Unfortunately, like, I think there's a lot of relationships where, like, oh no, like, it's my family, like, it's what my family says, ni modo.
Right. And we're going with that.
Right.
This is the way my family did it, so we're gonna do it that way.
You have to accept it.
Yeah, no, definitely not here.
Good, that's awesome.
And that was hard, though, more for the fact that our families, we were raised very differently, obviously. But everything that we've ever done together, it's always been very mutual. It's like, this is how, you know what I'm saying? So the whole conversation about how everything happened, or how, how we were gonna do things, how stuff like that or whatever, very, very mutual, very. I think at that age, for the age that we were,
we matured pretty quickly.
Super quick. Literally.
How did you guys get to that point? Because we've talked so at church, our pastor kind of had us put in a position to where we're taking care of some couples, young couples specifically, like
counseling.
20, kind of counseling a little bit, 20 to 30 years old, freshly married, about to get married, things of this nature. But we've also sat down with older couples than us, and man, let me tell you, there's some couples that are just, the maturing is clearly not there. So from your perspective, what helped you reach that maturity? Is it something that you guys tag team? Is it something that was it a constant topic in your household? Did you have a mentor outside? How did you guys not just get there, but how did you guys handle conflict when it came up? Because every marriage fights.
Right.
I don't care how perfect it looks on Instagram.
We fought on the way over here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and for those of you listening, we don't believe every single Instagram post you put. Let me tell you, like, we know that there's behind that smile, there's a lot of fights.
Definitely.
So,
and behind those, what do you call it? The filters.
The filters, yeah. Oh my gosh, the filters is another thing, but
It's another topic.
reality and expectation, right? Okay, so walk us through that.
So we're very hard-headed, both of us. So my Sogra, I love you, Sogra. I love you. She knows I do. But in the beginning, it was a lot of mijo do this, mijo do that, mijo do this. And honestly, I was like, okay, well, so this is my first kid. I don't know. So I don't know what's going on. But I saw where they were coming from. But then I was like, well, no, let me do it how I want it, because we're so hard-headed. Same thing with my parents, I think. My mom would be like, pues no, es que no dejes que me haga eso, mijo. I'm like, Mom, déjala. Obviously, I love this woman. So I'm very protective of Esme. And whenever they would if she was telling her something, again, my mom, I love you. But she would tell her something, then I would defend Esme. She's my wife, I know we're young, but I think we had that maturity in us already, to say we're gonna do things the way we're gonna do them, but we are gonna listen to you guys. You have to listen to your parents, because they also know they're coming from experience, so they're gonna tell you how to, hey, this is how we did it. This is how how we think you should do it. But you have to add your own twist to it. So for us, since we are so hard-headed, we just came to that agreement. And I'm like, well, so your mom tells me. Well, your mom tells me. And I'm like, so then let's tell our mothers. Back off. And not necessarily like that. We didn't do it in a rude way.
Yeah, not in a rude way.
We were always very respectful.
Our way or the hard way.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that at all. It was really, and I would do this in front of my parents, and I'm like, Ama, vamos a hacerlo como lo vamos a hacer nosotros. We're going to do it the way that we're going to do it. And I understand that you have an input and everything. I was like, but times have changed. You guys weren't young parents like we are. And I know that you're trying to help us and you're coming from contribution. But we are going to do the things that we want to do them. We go to church still. We believe. We feel that this is going to be the way we should do it. So literally it was a mutual agreement. Don't let people get too much into our business. And we've literally lived like that since then, where we take care of things on our own. And when we need some outside influence, when we need help from our parents, when we need help from pastors, from our, from counseling, from anything, then we decide together at that point, bring in some outside help if we need to get some outside help. Having, friends that are, or a couple friends that have the same views or anything like that is very, very helpful. It helps you get to those understandings together, because you get different views from people that almost have the same views you have. Wow. So it was a very mutual thing, I think.
That's awesome.
Definitely. Love it.
It's like what he said.
Awesome. That's good.
And you guys? Can I direct questions too? Can I?
Yeah,
okay.
Go for it, yes.
No, that same question. I think you wanna hear other people's input on how they did it too. You want to see how did you overcome certain things like that. Literally,
Right,
the living
sure.
together.
Everybody has a different way.
Their
own ways.
Wow. We moved in together in 2009. This is after that final breakup that we talked about. So, okay, we broke up for 18 months where, Alec was already 12 months old. Angelo was cooking in the oven. When he was born, we were still split. We split for 18 months. During that 18 months, I started going to my church. And, I accepted Christ and everything. And then I just kept going and going and going. I started, I guess, changing. I didn't feel it. I didn't see it, but she saw it.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point where after 18 months, she said, hey, you're different somehow. I don't know what's going on, but I think we should try this again.
Like a maturity difference when he was going to church?
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for the business and like church and the friends that he was hanging out with, like he got, it's going to sound bad, but got rid of, or he changed his friends. Like I noticed that change in him, like more mature, more like he knew what he wanted. And I'm like, okay, I like that. Like, let's start talking again. Let's try it out one last time. I mean, we had 2 kids, about to have 2 kids together. And I'm like, he's the father of my kids. Like, I don't want anyone else. Like, there's no other option. And people would tell me, like, you know what? Like, you guys are broken up. Like, there's other fish in the sea. And I'm like, no, like, he's the father of my kids. Like, I don't want anyone else. And yeah, I mean, he started going to our church. Thankfully, Liz and Luis, we were in the business with them, and just the people that he was hanging out with, like, changed him. And
I have to give a little bit of context to this. When she got pregnant, when we got pregnant, with our first, I was hanging out with, troublemakers, to put it lightly. I was just a different person completely. It's hard for people to believe that I was into what I was into, but not that I was a gangster or nothing like that. I was never in gangs, things like this, but partying a lot, drinking, drugs, you name it. And it just got, I mean, that's a whole nother episode entirely, but when I became
like 3 or 4 coming up after this, bro.
Yeah, man. Really? So when I became a father, when the nurse handed me my first son, and he's in my arms, I remember like it was yesterday, just crying out of regret, and out of just thinking, I can't believe that while he was in the womb, and I can literally see him in his mom's belly, I was still doing the things that I was doing. Yeah. Just regret, like I felt like trash, because it's like I'm over here supposed to be a father now, but not just bad stuff. For sure. So nurse puts him in my hand, and we have a man-to-man talk right there and then. I mean, he's 5 minutes old and we're already having coffee. And I tell him, son, I promise you that I'm gonna be the best father that I can possibly be. And at that moment, I prayed to God and I said, Lord, I don't know what this looks like of being better, but I need change in my life. I can't be hanging out with the same people that I am, because I'm just gonna end up in trouble. I'm gonna end up in jail. I'm gonna end up, divorced. I'm gonna end up, I mean, we weren't married at the time, but split. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna end up in bad places, so I was like, give me something different. I don't know what it is. Hence I met Luis.
That's crazy.
Luis introduced me to a business that we were running together, and the men that I met in that business team were all men of character, men of integrity, men of values, strong men, happily married men, just completely 180 degree black and white difference from the guys that I was hanging out with, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is what a real man does and acts and says, or whatever. So hanging out more with this new crowd of guys, little by little, it just rubs off on you. For sure. It's what it is. You're, what's the saying? Tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are. Right. Exactly. So that started rubbing off on me, and the things that I used to do before just didn't really interest me anymore. It didn't intrigue me, you know. So
was it a super? Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Was it a super switch, or was it a lingering and then change, or super switch?
It was cold turkey.
Dang. Okay.
It was cold. It was cold turkey. Because there's a really, really bad story, man. But there's a point where I'm hugging the toilet with vomit on my chest, knowing I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And thinking like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing? What is this? This is not fun. This is not entertaining. This isn't something that I can keep doing. Like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe God or, you know, Holy Spirit just put that conviction in me, because I've always heard, and I'm sure you guys too have always heard those excuses of, oh, it's because I was drunk and I don't remember. Well, no matter how trashed I got, I always had recollection of, you know, what's going on. Like, you always know what you're kind of doing, you know, like, at least for me.
Yeah.
So I just had to add some context to that as to what I changed from.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And, I mean, he started going to church, and I noticed that change. And then he tells me, or I think I asked him, I don't remember exactly, but what church is it? And he told me, and I'm like, it's a Christian church. I'm like, excuse my language. I was like, oh, heck no. Like, because I had a bad experience with, keep in mind, I grew up Catholic. I'm like, oh no, like, those two don't mix, those religions, whatever. And I was ignorant. Like, I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But I had a bad experience with someone that was Christian. An alleged Christian. And like, that left a bad taste in my mouth. And when he told me I'm going to a Christian church, I was like, great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I wanted to work on the relationship. So I was like, I'll go just because you want me to. Literally, I would be during praise and worship, I was sitting down. I was not standing up, praising and worshiping. I was with my hands crossed, and I was like slouched back, and I'm like, what are these hypocrites doing? Literally. Yeah. Like, I felt angry. Because I was like, how are people so happy and these things are happening in the world, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I believe there was God always. But it was just the people.
Yeah. And with this church, I knew that this was my church when I heard a service. In one specific service, the pastor said, you know who I want walking through those doors? I want the prostitutes. I want the alcoholics. I want the drug addicts. I want the guy that's fresh out of the club that hasn't gone to sleep yet because he's still drunk. I want those guys coming through those churches, because those are the people that need God the most.
Yeah.
And he goes, and you know what? And he's on fire. And he's like, and you know what's sad? That most of you would sit there and judge them. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't even want them to sit next to you, while Jesus would embrace them lovingly. Yeah. And I was like, woo.
You're like, I came to the right one.
I was like, dude, I am in the right church, because my church is not. A lot of people have a misconception, say that Christianity or being Christian is a religion, but my church, I feel, doesn't. It's not religious. It's, they teach relationship with Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's it. They say Christianity is nothing more than just a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's it.
Exactly.
It's, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And that's it. They're not filling you with don't do's. And you're going to go to hell if you do X, Y, Z. They don't. It's just, look, no matter where you've been, no matter what you've been through, we're all in some form of fashion a prodigal son. And there's a God in heaven that loves you and wants you to have a relationship with him so bad, So I just knew that I was in the right church. So, yeah. So when she says, let's get together again, we should try this out. You know what I tell her? I tell her, under one condition, you have to come to church with me.
Yeah.
Because my future wife is not going to be someone that doesn't love God. Because God had that much of an impact in me. There. So yeah, for 6 months, man, I'm sitting, she's sitting there with a resting unhappy face.
Yeah.
And during the worship, and I'm just like, dude, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
you're upsetting me, you know?
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know what? She has her own journey, just like I had mine, and I was just like praying for her and stuff like this.
Yeah.
But you know, the rest is history. So
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you guys, man. You're high school sweethearts. So you've been together how long now?
Since 2000, even the on and off. So
total.
So it was since 2000. So I want to say 23 years.
23 years
Yeah.
together.
And we'll be 18 years married this July.
18 years married.
Wow, congratulations.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
That is awesome. Like, that's so rare now, which is not good. You know, that it's rare. You know, it should be something that's good. And I know we were having coffee earlier, and we kind of touched on it. There's a big difference between being married and being happily in love, passion, romance, fireworks married. 23 years being together, it's not easy.
At all.
Natalie and babe, you can chime in. I would say marriage is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
But we want to hear from you. How do you do it? Like, how do you, after 23 years, you're still in love, you're still romantic, there's still fireworks, you know, there's still that love between each other. How do you guys keep that alive? How have you done it? How have you survived the statistic? You're not a statistic.
Not anymore.
Statistic is going to tell you,
Yeah.
you know, you guys more than likely are going to end up split. And that's why I think a lot of people are afraid of getting married.
Oh, heck yeah.
We can touch on that later, but how did you guys do it?
I think struggles is what kept us together, man. Honestly.
Well, because a lot of couples struggle and they split.
Yeah.
So-
yeah. So, I mean, the difference is the struggles. We've had struggles. But I feel that definitely the biggest difference is because we have God in our lives. For me, that's number one. Bar none is going to be number one. Through every struggle that we've had a lot, man. We've had a lot. Every time we've gone through something, it's just made us stronger. Which is obviously rare nowadays. People go through something and then it's like, boom, all right, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go find somebody else. It's so easy. For us, it was, and I can't even say it was the kids. I can't say that. I love my kids, love them to death. But the love that I have for her, the love that I've wanted to keep with her, the love that she's always shown me. Initially, obviously, when we were younger, when we were a lot younger, the love that she showed me was exuberant. It was big for me. I didn't think somebody could love me that much. Parents, obviously, my parents love me, my brothers and all that. But the way she showed her love, the way that she was super affectionate, we did things that I didn't, you know, that I never thought that I would do in regards to the way she showed me her love. And this has nothing to do with sex. This has nothing to do with the way she hugs me, kiss me, stuff like that. The way she talked about me, the way that she made me feel, the way that I don't know. I think that's kind of like nobody's ever shown me that. Nobody else, any other woman. Obviously, there's never been another woman or whatever. But when we were younger and all stuff, but I don't know if I'm getting sidetracked for the question. But the struggle and everything that we've gone through, the things that we've gone through, I don't think I always have a saying, like, let's say once we get like super successful, I don't think anybody else other than her deserves that. Our success, to get, you know, like for us to be together through everything that we're going to pass through. I don't see anybody else other than her.
Yeah.
I'm not over here thinking about this person or that person or whatever. So I think the struggles, but because we have God in our lives, is what has allowed us to continue this journey. Just the amount of love I think that we have for each other.
That's awesome.
There's days that we hate each other. There's days where I'm like, well, I don't want to talk to you today. But it's like almost literally the next day. It's
those
just
days,
like,
those days where you're sleeping on the edge of the
Right.
mattress.
Heck yeah, man.
But then again,
But-
what marriage doesn't have that, right?
Right.
Yeah, we all have our bad days and good days.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But yeah, definitely God will be the number one. God is the center of our home, our family, our marriage.
Yeah. I would say secondly to that, look at her, man. It's beautiful. Those green eyes, they talk to me every morning.
Aw.
Obviously still very, very, very attracted to my wife. We have date nights.
Yeah, and just like, I'm sorry I interrupted, but I think like maybe 2 years ago we started again doing the date nights.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it
It's
was
just been the kids. And...
it was the kids, and I remember listening to a preacher, and I think this was at a conference that we had at Abundant, and it was a women's conference, and I forgot what pastor it was, but I remember her saying, because to me it was always God and my kids, and God and then my kids, and then us, you know. But then when she came and she preached about marriage, like it should be God, your significant other, and then your kids, because what happens is, you know, all these years you put so much into your kids and your kids and your kids, and then you never put nothing into your marriage. Your kids grow up, they go on to college, you know, go get married, they leave the house, and then it's you guys. And then how do you come back to that, to your marriage? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? We're by ourselves now. Where do we start? Like, you know, it can
You're
be
strangers.
effective. Yeah, strangers again. Yeah. Like, you know, people end up getting divorced, or, you know, like, oh, okay, this is boring. Like, what are we doing together? What's the purpose of us? Yeah. So then when I heard that, I'm like, you know what? She's right. Like, yeah, our kids are important to us. Obviously, they know we love them and everything, but it's God and our marriage, and then it should be our kids. And that's where I learned, like, and that's when I think we started, like, more like, okay, let's get a babysitter. Yeah, intentional for making us time. Like, even to trips. I remember the first trip we went by ourselves without the kids. I was crying on the airplane. Literally, I was crying. And Willie's like, babe, it's okay. They're with my mom. You know, your mom, my mom. I don't know who they were with, but Jeremiah was like,
I don't even remember where I left them. I just left.
Willie was ready. Oh, and it was to Vegas. Because that's when you were working for the broker. What's I
was under DreamWorks Realty.
DreamWorks Realty, yeah. And the end of the year, they did this trip for all the realtors to go to Vegas. So I was like, oh, I've never been to Vegas. You know, and it was our first trip leaving Jeremiah, the kids. Jeremiah was only like a year and a half, I think. And I was crying on the plane, like, oh my God, I'm a bad mom. And, you know, like, we're going to be so far away. What if something happens? You know, the mom feeling, and you know, until like
feeling, I'm like, what shows am I gonna watch?
Oh my! Willie was like,
how funny. The difference from a guy and a girl.
We're gonna go, you know, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like a 4-day stay.
Which buffets am I gonna eat at?
Willie was already looking at restaurants, and I kept thinking, like, as soon as I get to the hotel, as soon as we land, I'm calling them no matter what time. I'm checking in, you know? Yeah. Like, and that's when, like, after that, I was like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that you guys realized that and that you heard that at that conference. Yeah. You know? And that's why I think conferences are
they're
helpful, man.
Yeah,
they're really we need them.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that helped me when I heard that message. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take that in because it's true. You know, I never thought about it until I heard the pastor preaching about it. I'm like, wow, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that happens a lot to marriages, especially. I think I saw it in my parents where it was just like kids, raise the kids, and then they were not paying attention to a relationship, and then kids leave and they're like two strangers. Like, it happens a lot. Yeah.
You lose couples start losing that attention towards each other. What makes you fall in love in the first place? Those little details, the little notes, the little touches, you know, those looks, you know, the dates, you know, the romance, the romanticizing, the romancing, the romancing, whatever, however you say it.
The wooing.
The wooing. There you go. Thanks, Willie. All that, you know, gets you to fall in love. But then you move in, you have married, you know, you get married, you have kids, and then your responsibility changes to a perspective to where I need to make sure that my kids are good. But couples have to be very careful to not stop the wooing, right?
The balance.
Because man, time flies. I mean, we have an almost 15-year-old and a 16-year-old in high school, man. I mean, it was just like yesterday that we were changing their diapers. You know, time flies so fast. But like you said, Esme, you don't want to end up with an empty nest and you're married to a stranger now because the wooing stopped a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's where maybe infidelity starts creeping in. That's where, entertaining the idea of, that girl or that guy at work or whatever starts kind of, because there's needs not being met at home. Right? So I think for us, we can attribute our happy marriage after 20 years together to, I would narrow it down to 3 things, maybe 4. The first one is God, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I heard at a conference too, hint, hint, invest in your marriage. Fellas, that's, you take the lead as a head of the household. Buy that conference ticket to whatever marriage conference you need to go to. At a conference, the guy said, a successful marriage is a 3-legged stool. The first leg is God. Second is the man. Third is the woman. That's it. As long as that stool has those 3 strong legs, you're going to be fine. Yes, you're going to have ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you will be fine. So number 1, God for sure. Number 2, I think learning each other's love language. Because yes, there is different love languages and there is a certain way to make your partner feel loved. That is not necessarily the same way that you feel loved. And that's something that we didn't learn till years after being married.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God we did, because that just brought the fire right back.
Yeah.
And then third, on those 911 moments, on those moments where, you're yelling at each other, man, you're at each other's, you're pulling each other's hair, you're, in a non-good way, you're,
that's another topic.
You're at each other's throats, just ready.
TMI.
Yeah, ready to, go, hey, happy marriages, man, whatever it takes. You need that 911. You need a third perspective. You need an outside perspective. At least we did.
For sure.
And God blessed us with 2 couples that were our go-to when her and I just could not get along. Like, we were at a breaking point. So these couples, we called them and said, hey, we need your help, man. We're borderline done here. And they would come in and they would hear us out and they would tell us, here's what you're doing right and here's what you're doing wrong. So I think that attributes to a successful marriage. What about you?
I agree. Ditto. Ditto. I'm
What
still
he
blushing
said, yeah.
from what he said earlier. Jeez. But no, yeah, I mean, communication too, like, and compromising, because I mean, man, I think the love language is a big one, because I would always be giving him gifts and he's like, okay, thank you. But his love language is words of affirmation. And till this day, it's like, I'm still working on that because it's not something that comes natural for me, but I know that he's going to feel loved. And it's like, I need to keep him, like, have him feel loved. And yeah, man, that book is awesome. If you guys haven't read it, The 5 Love Languages is amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is not sponsored.
No.
We're not promoting because we're sponsored, anything like that. It's just a tool, a really, really, really big tool that has helped us in our learning.
Yeah. And just to kind of finish it off, like, what would you guys say? Like, any recommendations, any like advice?
On
for marriages that maybe are not feeling that love, like, what would you,
like, if you, let's say you run into a couple and they say, Willy and Esme, we're getting divorced, man, we're done, there's no hope, what,
maybe it's someone that has like fallen out of love, quote unquote, you can say,
we don't love each other anymore, we hate each other, we can't stand each other, we've been married for 10 plus years, we just, we're just living together. We're just
Like
co-parenting.
Yeah,
we're
I think
just
it's more
roommates.
like the affection. Like the affection's not there because they're not doing those date nights. They're not.
Honestly, the first thing we go to is God, and that's always going to be what we do.
Okay.
People tend to open up to us a lot, like a lot.
Yeah.
Last year or 2 years ago, or in the last 2 years, I think we've had the most amount of friends, couples that we have known that maybe not as good friends. I think we've realized like maybe 4 or 5 couples that were going through divorce, gonna get divorced. Some got divorced. But our first thing is always God. That's all I know, bro. Like I literally, it's the best thing that I know. Right. I always tell people, go to church, read the Bible, pray together. I don't care if you're a Catholic. I don't care if you just do it. Yeah. That, I feel like that should be the first thing that we always thinking about. Is center yourself somewhere where hey, they're gonna be there. Like, so God is your mutual. God will be your mutual ground. Yeah. If there's a decision that you guys can't make together, if you're falling out of love, it's more because you didn't centralize Him. And
well, not necessarily, because I know people who do go to church and they end up divorcing, so it's not necessarily because they're not into church or they're not into God, because you can believe in God but still go through your problems, your issues, right, and not come to an agreement and still end up divorced. Right. So it's not necessarily, yes, of course, the number one priority is God, but you would also, as a friend, I would think, listen to their story. Where did the problem come from? Like listen to his side, her side, not just take one side, I believe. And then take it from there and just see where the problem is really coming from, because it's not necessarily gonna be that they're not go to church or they don't believe in God, but you have to find the problem.
Right.
And it's not taking any side, to be honest, because the couples that we have spoken with are there's always somebody looking for, hey, can you take my side, bro? Am I all right? Am I right? Am what I'm doing, is it okay? Yeah. And then when they realize they're not, is when they're like, that's when you take a step back. And they're like, well, I didn't know I was doing wrong. So we tend to be that mutual ground for a lot of people. A lot of people, I think, because of the amount of time that we have in our marriage, the struggles that we've gone through and all that stuff. I think your third point then, it really is, right? The third point? It is the third point, maybe. Is to talk to somebody. Yeah. Is to have somebody that's, even then, I don't think they have to be in the same frame of mind, but I would like for them to make sure that they have God centralized in their life, so that way they can give you some type of advice that's going to have some meaning to it, and that they can back up with the Bible. But definitely having somebody in your life that you can confide in that person, confide in that couple, if it is a couple. It can even, and more generalized too, I think it can be older couples. For us, it has been my parents, it's been her parents. So those are the times that we have allowed people in and said, hey, we're at each other's throats. I don't think we can, my parents end up talking to us, her parents end up talking to us, regardless of the background that they're coming from too. Obviously my parents being Christian and her parents being Catholic, they've been through stuff and they're still together. My parents are still together and so are hers. So there's a lot of things that we can learn, even from a couple that's done bad, they know what not to do. So you can always learn from somebody. You can always learn from their mistakes. They're going to tell you, we used to do it like this and that didn't work out for us. It might work out for you. You want to make sure that you can talk to somebody that you can trust and confide in them and let them know, hey, this is kind of where we're at. And make sure not to leave anything out. We need to know what's going on. We need to know everything, literally.
The dirty details.
The dirty details. Yeah. Those dirty details are good, man, because when we come home and we're talking about it in the truck, I didn't know he did that. I didn't know she did that. Obviously, that's a joke, but we want to make sure that we have the full story. You want to be able to guide somebody in the right direction. You want to be able to make sure that you have all the details so you know where they're coming from and know both sides and understand. You might not have to take a side. If you know one of them is wrong, then let them know. Let them know, hey, this is kind of where you are wrong in what you're doing, Yeah. So my advice for somebody like that's on the brink or something like that, get get a couple that probably thinks the same way that you do. Get a couple that, has gone through a couple of issues in their marriage, more than a couple issues, so that way they can guide you directly.
I love that.
Right. I think I agree with that. Like, just make sure you're careful on who you choose to tell.
Yes.
Right. And look at their background too, and how they're doing in their life, and how successful they're in their marriage. Like, you need to be careful too. You can't just tell your next door neighbor at work when they're having the problems. How are you going to take advice from somebody like that? Right.
They don't have the fruit.
Right.
Like,
inspect the fruit.
You guys brought up a good point. Like, make sure that you go to couples that have the fruit, because you don't want to be learning from your neighbor that is also having the same problem. So, yeah, good point.
You don't want to spill to Plutarco, your coworker. Déjala, bro. Let's go have a beer.
Right.
Exactly. Let's drink away our problems. Let's go drink away our problems.
Who are all divorced and all single. I'm like, hey, just leave them. Come with us.
That's not the right person to go to.
That's not the right way to do it, or the right person to go to, obviously.
Inspect the fruit. Couples, marriages out there, I would say, don't talk about your problems, your marriage problems, to family, because it's not. You just don't do that. If there's, hey, we should do something like the 10 no commitments or something of marriage. But man, this is good. One of the big don'ts is you never de-edify your spouse to family, right? No matter who it is.
They'll end up hating that person. Right?
Yeah, because you're venting out of an emotional irritation, but then you forget about it, and then you're happy with your significant other again, and now all is hunky-dory. But your family member is going to remember that detail forever.
Yes.
And they're never going to look at your spouse the same.
Exactly.
So it's not fair for them. Right. So if you want to keep a happy marriage, when your family asks, whether it's mom or dad, whether it's sister, bro, whatever, if it's family, how is so-and-so? How are you guys doing? The answer is always, we are doing amazing. Yeah. Even if you just got in a fight, whatever, you're doing awesome. There's a right person to go to.
Right, right. And I know you guys said family, but like there's a certain way of telling your parents too.
Yeah.
Because for example, me, like I didn't have any friends when we first started our marriage. I didn't have friends, so I didn't have anyone to go to and tell my problems or my issues. So right away, I would go to my mom and I would be like, Mom, blah, and I would tell her the bad stuff that Art would do or not do. And she's like, se va a ver, and he's going to get it. And when family get-togethers, she would be like giving him the stink eye because...
What does you call it? It builds the remorse against that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They build up a hate for that. Honestly, so that's why you. And then I don't know. I think this should be a code in between marriages. You do end up keeping a lot to yourself, but again, know who you can trust with the information that you're going to give them. Right. You end up telling prima, and prima's going to end up telling prima and tia, and and stuff, and then they're going to end up hating the husband for whatever it is that he did.
Right. And
it will stay with you forever. Mm-hmm. It literally will. I've been told it more than a couple of things, and that's a moniker that just stays there. And I'm just like, pues, that's how he is. Mm-hmm. That's how he is. Obviously, I learned not to judge people or whatever, but you want to be careful when you tell family, because you tell family and they will hate that person forever, and that will stay with them, literally. Yeah. And it'll be the topic of conversations. It'll start being the topic of conversations behind your back. And then that can amplify the situation. It'll amplify it so bad that the husband or the wife will no longer want to be in that relationship because your entire family hates them because of something that happened 17 years ago.
And now they're involved.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Oh man, that's a whole nother, guys, there's gonna be part 2, 3, 4, and 5 to this.
No, but we want to appreciate your guys' time. Like, I know it's been a long day, so thank you guys, Willy and Esme.
Thank you guys.
You guys are awesome.
Us.
So
yeah, definitely. I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Oh, we sure did, man. Ladies and gentlemen, expect several. So I mean, we're gonna go fast and furious with this thing. We're gonna go part 9. Let's just send it. This is too good. There's too much to dissect here.
Yeah, but thank you guys.
But thank you so much.
Thank you for the invite.